Welcome again to Math 800 Pre-Algebra. Today we are doing section 4.2, Writing Fractions in Lowest Terms. Our objectives: 1. To identify fractions written in lowest terms. 2. To write a fraction in lowest terms using common factors. 3. To write a number as a product of prime factors. 4. To write a fraction in lowest terms using prime factorization. And 5. To write a fraction with variables in lowest terms. Note, recall that factors are numbers being multiplied to give a product. For example, 1 times 4 is 4, so 1 and 4 are the factors of 4. The things being multiplied are the factors. 2 times 4 equals 8. 2 and 4 are being multiplied, so 2 and 4 are factors. Notice that both numbers have 4 in common, so 4 is a common factor. The things being multiplied are factors. That's a very important vocabulary word. You need to be comfortable with that. Writing a fraction in lowest terms. A fraction is written in lowest terms when the numerator and denominator have no common factor other than 1. Here are some examples: 1/3, 3/4, 2/5, and 7/10. When you work with fractions, you always write the final answer in lowest terms. If you do not do this, you will lose points. A quick note, even though their examples are all proper fractions, improper fractions are also considered in lowest terms as long as they have no common factors other than 1. You do not convert to a mixed number in order to simplify improper fractions. Improper fractions are perfectly acceptable answers as long as they have no common factor other than 1. Example: are the following fractions in lowest terms? If not, find a common factor of the numerator and denominator. Notice at this stage they are only asking you to find a common factor. They are not asking you to simplify. Our first example is 3/8. The numerator and denominator have no common factors other than 1, so the fraction is in lowest terms. 3 only has the factors 1 and 3. 8 could be written as 1 times 8 or 2 times 4, but no matter what, it has nothing in common with the factors of 3 other than 1. Example B, 21 over 36. 21 has a lot of factors, namely 1 and 21 and 3 and 7, because I could multiply 3 times 7 and get 21. 36 has even more factors. You could do 1 times 36. You could also do 2 times 18, or 3 times 12, or 4 times 9, or 6 times 6. There are lots of factors for 36. Notice there was one common factor other than 1, namely 3. 21 could be written as 3 times 7, and 36 could be written as 3 times 12. So 3 is a common factor. Therefore, this fraction is not in lowest terms. So how do we write a fraction in lowest terms? There are two methods. The first method is dividing by a common factor to write a fraction in lowest terms. Your first step is to find the greatest number that will divide evenly into both the numerator and denominator. If you have found the greatest number, it is the greatest common factor. However, any common factor will work, as long as both the top and the bottom, the numerator and the denominator, have it in common. Once you have identified a common factor, divide both the numerator and the denominator by the common factor. Then double check to see if the new numerator and new denominator have any common factors other than 1. If they do, then repeat these steps until you have your fraction in lowest terms. Here's our first example. Divide by a common factor to write the fraction in lowest terms. 60 over 72. We could divide both 60 and 72 by 4. 60 divided by 4 is 15. 72 divided by 4 is 18. Notice how I have the divided by 4 on both the top and the bottom. If you only have a single divided by 4, that is very, very, very wrong, and you will lose points. Both the top and the bottom are being divided by 4. You have to write them individually. However, notice with 15 and 18, there's still a common factor. We can divide both 15 and 18 by 3 as well. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So now we're in lowest terms because 5 and 6 do not have common factors. 6 could be 1 and 6, or 2 and 3, but none of those are factors of 5, other than 1. Notice we could have done this in one step by dividing by the greatest common factor of 12. Note 4 times 3 is 12. Had you done that, you could have gotten to our final answer in one step. 60 divided by 12 is 5. 72 divided by 12 is 6. I don't care how many steps you take as long as your final answer is in simplified form and you show me what you're dividing both the top and the bottom by. So if you take 2 steps, that's fine. If you can get it done in 1 step, that is also fine. Another example. Divide by a common factor to write the fraction 20 over 24 in lowest terms. Again, we could divide them both by 2, and then we wind up with 10 over 12, and then check and notice we could divide by 2 again, and we get 5/6 as our final answer. The greatest common factor of 20 and 24 would have been 4. We could have done this in 1 step by dividing by 4 and gotten our same answer of 5/6. Quick note that both 20 over 24 and 60 over 72 simplified to 5/6. That's what we refer to as equivalent fractions. In both cases, our simplified form is 5/6. That would be the acceptable final answer. Another example, divide by a common factor to write the fraction negative 24 over 42 in lowest terms. This negative just tells you that the fraction is negative. So you are going to just divide both the numerator and denominator by 6 and keep the negative sign. So our final answer is negative 4/7. The negative didn't impact anything other than the fact that you had to keep it until the very end. And the greatest common factor was 6, so divide that by 6, top and bottom. Again, you could have done this in 2 steps by dividing by 2 and then dividing by 3. Now we'll talk about some specific kinds of numbers. The first kind of number are prime numbers. A prime number is a whole number that has exactly 2 different factors itself in one. A composite number is a number with a factor other than itself or 1. Caution! A prime number has only 2 different factors itself in 1. The number 1 is not prime because it does not have 2 different factors. The factors of 1 are 1 in itself, and we need 2 different factors. 0 is also not prime. That's just by definition. Therefore, 0 and 1 are neither prime nor composite. Example, label each number as prime or composite or neither. The prime numbers are 2, 5, and 11. That's because we can only divide them by themselves and 1. We cannot divide them evenly by anything else. 2 is the only even prime number. All other prime numbers are odd. The composite numbers are 10 and 15 because we could divide them by things like 2 or 5, or in this case 3 or 5. 0 is neither prime nor composite. A quick note on odds and primes. The only even prime number is 2. All other prime numbers are odd, but that doesn't mean all odd numbers are prime. For example, 9, 15, and 21 are odd numbers, but they are not prime. 9 could be divided by 3, 15 could be divided by 3 or 5, and 21 could be divided by 3 or 7. A prime factorization of a number is a factorization. Remember, factor means things that are being multiplied, in which every factor is a prime number. So basically, for prime factorizations, you're taking a number and rewriting it as a multiplication involving prime numbers. There are 2 methods for finding prime factorization.